Hi everybody, it's Mark Worthington. Now the World Health Authority claims that about 1.5 billion people in the world suffer from mental, ongoing illness. A further billion people in the world suffer from chronic physical illness. Now, I have to admit, I've suffered from both. For periods of my life, I had firstly, a medical condition which was horrible. It was a muscle disorder. But I also went through periods of my life which were quite stressful, and I was sad and, not happy. So I took advice. I had a mentor or two. I saw psychologists. And although it was helpful, nothing really helped me. Not find sustainable happiness. And the doctors couldn't even find the way out of my medical condition. But what I'm really proud to say is I did. And I did it by going way beyond the advice that I was given by both psychologists and doctors. And it worked. So, a year or two ago, I published this book called Where Your Happiness Hides, which was my first foray into explaining the way out of mental health issues, and to some extent, physical health issues. Now, what I discovered was that although I could think more positively, which everyone told me to do, that actually didn't work in terms of me finding sustainable happiness and joy in my life. In some ways, it just created more resistance for me and disappointment, and I went nowhere, just around in a loop. Now, Albert Einstein says that your level of self-awareness basically determines how successful your life is. And he's right, as usual. But he didn't say how to do it. So I went on a personal quest to determine, well, okay, how do I actually find true happiness here? Because just thinking about it is not going to work. It's a complete fallacy. Now, what I discovered was that behind my thoughts actually sat a far more important ingredient, and that was my beliefs. My beliefs, and your beliefs, determine the thoughts that we have. And you cannot change your thoughts unless you change the beliefs behind them. And that is not a 5-minute exercise. If you think it is, then you would be a little bit led astray. Because what I found was that finding sustainable happiness in myself, took a bit of work. I could have a pill or I could have a drink and I might find happiness for a few hours, but to actually come back to a really, really sustainable level of happiness, I had to go beyond thoughts, beyond external kind of forces, and truly go inward, as people say, to find where my happiness was hiding. Now, I've written an ebook to summarize this book for you, should you wish to download it for free. If you want to buy the bigger book, that's great, but I'm not asking you to do that. So what I researched was belief structures. What are the number one belief structures in this world that determine our happiness? And once I determined the belief structures that actually are causing me harm, which by the way, I'm in control of, how do I change them? And that's what this book gives you insights into. Now, we all have these recurring belief structures because we are conditioned within largely the same well. We live in a world where we are largely taught who we need to be. And that may not be really who we want to be, what our heart's desire would be. Yet we learn to mold ourselves to a society and become what others want us to be. And we adopt the belief structures all around us so we fit in, thinking that will give us the happiness that we truly desire. What I found was that was not true. Many of the belief structures and ways of being that I was taught to be turned out to be the source of my stress. And my belief structures were creating thoughts within me which may have aligned with everyone around me, but actually were the enemy of my happiness. They say happiness is a choice, and that is correct. But where are you choosing from? Are you choosing from your heart, which knows exactly what will make you happy, or are you choosing from a set of conditioned beliefs that everybody else has taught you? I would argue in 99% of cases, that second version is what people are doing. They are not truly knowing who they are. They are knowing the person they were taught to be, which is largely an illusion. So when you get deeper into it and you start looking at why you're believing what you're taught to believe and how it's affecting your life, you start to unravel it. And this whole thing is more an unlearning exercise than a learning exercise. If it's a learning exercise, you're probably being taught again what you need to be. What I found was that the journey I went on was an unpacking exercise. It was an unlearning exercise. I had to learn what I wasn't. I had to strip away all the junk that people had taught me I needed to be so I could actually find the true self of me sitting beneath that. And then, as I'm wearing pink today, start to actually love the person that I was. And that meant, to some extent, I had to step away from the life I once had. Not completely, you don't have to do that, but you start to become your unique self. And it all lies in the power of your self-awareness. Your belief structures will determine your life and will determine how happy you ultimately are. So if you want to really discover true self-love and true deep happiness, then consider reading my ebook. It will give you a taste of what my research has been about. And then if you really want to go further, you can read this book, or even there are other books on my website that you will see that go further into how self-love can truly change your life completely in a way nothing else will. I'll leave that with you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you find where your happiness is hiding.